Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for making time today to join us during our presentation regarding the Merchant's Guide to PCI Compliance. My name is Patty Benitez. I'm Senior Vice President of Channel Sales for APS Payments. Joining me today, but with a brief emergency, would have been Devin Lildar, and the reason I'm mentioning his name is because he is our VP of Channel Sales in Canada and specializes in our Sage 300 integration. I'm going to go ahead and begin the presentation. I want everybody to know just how crucial it is to understand the reasons behind PCI compliance and the exposure you may have if you are not currently PCI compliant to the hackers out there. Now, I'm Mexican, and that's why I can say this. We all understand technology, and we're all building walls. I know everybody's giggling right now, even though you're on mute. We build walls, security walls, to prevent hackers from penetrating our companies, our information. Well, those walls, as it happens even in the States, are continuously being torn down. And we have to find ways and show our merchants ways to reconstruct and establish the security settings that are required in order to protect your business. So today's agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit about us. I promise I'm going to keep it as painless as possible, very brief. I want everybody to understand who APS is and where we came about. We're going to talk about the payment processing challenges, not only regarding PCI compliance. I'm going to make sure you understand everything there is to know about PCI compliance, but I also want to talk about processing challenges that have to do with online entry, double entry, errors that can occur because of manual entry, etc. We're going to talk about what exactly is PCI compliance and, more importantly, what happens if you're not compliant. I'm going to show you 10 steps, very easy steps, that will help you reduce your risk. We will actually go through a PCI compliance checklist. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know I'm going to share this, or BAASS is going to share this PowerPoint presentation with you. They're going to post it on their website as well. We're going to talk about how APS sets themselves apart. And then, of course, we'll talk about next steps. Now, before I jump into the presentation, you may have noticed you're on listen-only mode. Feel free to ask questions using the chat box or raise your hands, and we'll be happy to answer the questions along the way. Now I'm going to begin with the most important slide, and the reason I like to bring it up is because this is us. I don't know if you've seen the TV show, but this is definitely the APS team. The reason that I like to show this picture first is because of the diversity, not only in culture, but also in the level of expertise. We have developers, technicians, channel salespeople, such as myself. We have people that come from our acquiring banks, TSYS, Elavon. There is experience with ERP consultants as well as ERP developers. So the point I like to make with this picture is not only that we care about what we do enough to make sure we understand everything that surrounds our merchants' requirements, but the fact that you won't have to go to multiple providers if you run into a credit card processing issue, including questions about PCI compliance. So I promised I was going to be very brief when I talk about us, right? We have been in the credit card processing industry for well over a decade. Our CEO and founder has actually been in the business for a little over 25 years. His level of expertise not only surrounds credit card processing in general, but also the different ERPs that we integrate with, specifically Sage. We process for thousands of merchants in over 20 countries. No customer is too small or too large. Average volume, just so you get an idea, can range from $2,000 a month to over $20 million a month. We've been ranked as top 100 acquirer in the United States by the Nielsen report. We've been in the top Inc. 5000 list for 3 years in a row, something we're very proud of. And we help to seamlessly integrate not only the ERP systems, but please note, we love to accommodate the additional functionality for our merchants. So shopping carts, e-commerce solutions, point of sale, mobile applications. That is something that's very rare when it comes from a credit card processing provider, and we're happy to do. Last but not least, we provide 24/7 live support. Ladies and gentlemen, you can agree with me, nowadays, instead of getting an automated system and actually being able to speak with a human being is a luxury that we like to offer our merchants. So we are APS Payments, flexible and integrated payments for every business. We do provide 100% PCI compliance. We have a dedicated team in-house, which is exclusive to making sure that our merchants become and remain PCI compliant. We offer tokenized credit card data. What that means is you're able to enter credit card information. We tokenize it, take it from your ERP, and store it in our secured vault. We're 100% partner-centric, which is very important, and I'd like to once again thank the BAASS team for allowing us to present today. The reason that our partners are so important, among other things, is they get to know your system better than any of us will ever get to know it, right? If there is any way that our solution will conflict with any of your solutions, any third-party products, usually the partner is the first one to let us know, and we're able to address any type of conflict before we even install our software. We also have a dedicated training team. We offer training at absolutely no charge to you or our partners. We make sure that you have cutting-edge technology when it comes to credit card processing. The features that we offer are ahead of our time. One of them, and I'll talk a little bit about it, is the customer portal, which allows your customers to make their payments online, and the transactions go all the way through the Sage 300. So what are some of the payment processing challenges? Of course, we know that the PCI compliance is, right? But let's talk about a couple of others here. The duplicate entry. This is very time-consuming, prone to error, of course. What solution is out there that will eliminate the need for the manual entry? We'll be talking about that today. Believe it or not, the list that you see on the screen right now actually came from merchants that expressed their frustration to us before they made the switch to APS. The number one that I hear over and over again is that they do not understand their current merchant statements. They were told they were getting a certain rate, but when they tried to check, it was so confusing they couldn't tell, or the rate was considerably higher than what they were proposed. So understanding that merchant statement is definitely a key challenge, and we're going to talk about how to overcome that challenge. Not all merchants provide Level 3 processing. For those of you that are not familiar with Level 3 is a program that is actually for US-based companies, and it's a program that was put in place by Visa and MasterCard. Basically, what they say is if you're accepting a corporate card or a government card, you're a business in the continental US, they will cut the rates in half if you can prove you're accepting that type of card. And you heard me correctly. If your average rate is 2.8, it will go down to 1.9 right about, simply by submitting data fields that will qualify the transaction for Level 3 rates. And those data fields confirm that it's a corporate card that was making the payment or a government card. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that during the presentation. Customer support, as I mentioned, also one of the key challenges, the automated systems. You don't want to be stuck in the middle of your busy season with a credit card transaction stuck, or a high volume transaction, and you have no idea why it's not going through. That's why it's so important to have someone to call, someone that's going to give you the answers. And then, of course, a really big complaint that we hear all the time is the lack of centralized reporting. And I'm going to talk to you about how that can be eliminated by simply integrating your payment processing to a provider, an integrated provider. Last but not least, the ability to process internationally. As you know, nowadays, especially for those of you that are currently or that have an e-commerce website, you receive orders from all over the world, and you want to be able to accept the payment type, right, from anywhere in the world. The credit card processing transformation, how has that happened? So I don't really focus too much on this slide because the majority of us have already transitioned into the new way of processing. We've either done this willingly or we've been forced into it. Remember back in the day when someone was ordering over the phone, it would be an order, an email, a fax, and you'd have to write it down, key it in, etc. Then you would receive check payments, cash payments, or you would have to type in everything manually into the system after you process the payment on the terminal. Nothing was integrated, so you had to do things multiple times. Nowadays, it's so much easier. Millennials, if you're on the line, you can agree with me. Everything is an app. You can use your phone as a computer now. The multi-channel ordering is there, self-serve and digital payments, and of course, the systems are integrated. So that's the new way, and we want to help you to get there if you're not there yet, especially when it comes to payment processing. So what exactly can integrated payments offer you? I can tell you definitely tremendous benefits. Not only can you reduce processing times, but you can streamline your operations, increase your data security, and I'm going back to the PCI compliance there. You're going to get improved visibility and reporting. Obviously, if you have all of the information there, it will be available at the tip of your fingers. You will definitely see better cash flow and customer experience. Giving the customers the option to pay the way that they want to pay is always so much easier, and it makes it so much easier for them to make the payment. And then savings on the B2B transactions through level 3 for those US-based companies that are on the line today. So many people ask, why would I have to worry about PCI compliance? How do I know that it will affect my company? The bottom line is, anyone that is accepting credit cards, processing credit cards in any way at your business is subject to the PCI DSS standards. That is it. There's no way around it. You have to, and you are subject to compliance. So what exactly is PCI DSS? What does that stand for? Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Now, all member organizations that issue or acquire information from cards with the Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover logos are required by law to comply with a range of information security requirements. Now, what are those requirements? Let's talk about them after we discuss where exactly this applies. It applies to organizations where cardholder data is stored, processed, or transmitted. You're not storing the data because if you're processing through a gateway provider such as APS, then the gateway provider will store the data. But you are processing and you are transmitting. So that holds you liable. And I'm going to explain how we can help with that liability. If your business accepts credit cards, debit cards, EBTs, you must, and I'm going to underline and reiterate every time, because you have to understand how critical it is that you abide by the rules, and I'm going to show you some of the consequences of not abiding by the rules. So you must meet the payment card industry data security standards established by the card brands. And let me underline one more time, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not in compliance, you're putting your entire business at risk. We at APS have been witnesses to businesses that have gone under, have been forced to file for bankruptcy because they were not PCI compliant and their business was compromised. If you're multitasking, this is the part where you have to pay attention. You're not only putting yourself at risk, you're putting your company, the families that rely on you, who work for you at your company, at risk. So what happens if you do not comply with PCI DSS? Just so you get an idea, payment brands may, at their discretion, now let me underline that, at their discretion, they can fine an acquiring bank $5,000 to $100,000 per month for PCI compliance violations. And that's only the first part. The banks will also most likely either terminate your relationship or increase your transaction fees if your organization was non-compliant. The potential for lost revenues, customer loss, and overall negative impact causing future earning losses. I mean, think about it. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's not just putting your company at risk, it's putting so much more out there at risk. You're liable for lawsuits, insurance claims, canceled accounts, payment card issuer fines, in addition to what you saw above, and government fines. Breaches make headlines. Everyone's going to know it happened. Businesses that are at risk regardless of the size. And I'm sure you've seen many of the larger companies that were compromised. The enemy is getting smarter. Like I said, we're building walls and they're learning how to tear them down. Companies must understand the threats, take the steps to protect themselves and their customers. I wanted to mention some names that I know all of you are familiar with. Target, Facebook, WhatsApp, Citrix, Adobe, they were all compromised. Think about it. You have to protect your data. So how can you go about protecting? How can you go about becoming and remaining PCI compliant? First of all, take a look at the checklist. Install and maintain a firewall. Make sure that if you don't know how to do this, you hire an expert. You definitely do not use default system passwords. One of the companies that I just mentioned, I have to tell you, when they were hacked, it was the easiest thing because they set up their password to be password. That's how easy it was. Protect stored cardholder data. How do you protect it? It is completely non-PCI compliant to write down the credit card information on a Post-it note and leave it lying around the office, or to receive faxes with the written credit card information and put it into a filing cabinet. All of those things are putting you at risk. You have to make sure that the data is encrypted, so you encrypt the transmission of the cardholder data. These are things that APS natively has available to you. Protect all systems against malware. Develop and maintain secure systems and applications. Regularly test security systems and processes. Now, this is something where we like to stay involved. Once we make sure you become PCI compliant, we schedule a follow-up with you on a yearly basis to make sure that you go through the self-assessment questionnaire and pass it. You have to also think about restricting access to cardholder data. How do you restrict it? We can show you that through your ERP especially. You must be able to track and monitor access to network resources and cardholder data. Again, the ERP integration makes a world of a difference. And then, of course, maintain a personnel policy for information security. All of this is crucial, and all of this can be covered through APS. Now, the PCI compliance checklist that you see on the screen, maintaining a safe and secure system is only part of the necessary steps to ensure PCI compliance. Following January 1st of 2019, all merchants are required to process credit card validations with at least PCI DSS version 3.2.1. Organizations wishing to be compliant and avoid penalties must evaluate their current compliance level, assess their security systems, remediate and fix vulnerabilities, and submit reports and documentation in order to file successfully. So what is exactly assessment? Analyze for vulnerabilities. Remediate, you fix any vulnerabilities if found. And then finally reporting, submitting compliance reports and remediation records where applicable. This is part of your checklist. So what do you have to do? Before you get started, you have to contact your merchant service provider to check what forms and documentation you will need to submit. In our case, we will contact you. That's the number one step in our process. The PCI Security Standards Council released a new data security evaluation tool that helps assess your PCI DSS compliance and security policy. You can see the link on the screen. And we're always able to help with that. So you don't have to do it on your own. Then we have to determine your compliance level based on how your business is described in the PCI general standards so that you're prepared for the following steps. There are different standards for various businesses based on how you handle customer transactions, for example, how you handle data, what credit card companies and banks you work with, and how much volume you handle. So all of this will affect the way we determine your compliance. So, assess your operations as you fill out the self-assessment questionnaire. There are 9 different versions of the SAQ guidebook or the self-assessment questionnaire guidebook. So you will select the one that best applies to your business. Now, you're not going to do this on your own. We at APS will be beside you to help you. The guidebook will walk you through a dozen different requirements for which you'll have to give the answers of yes or no or not applicable. This will help you to identify the gaps in your company's payment security. So that's the reason that we like to do this together with you. And that's why it's important that when you choose your payment provider, make sure they have this type of service at no charge. And I have to tell you, it's hard to find because the majority of the payment providers that are integrated to an ERP system will charge an average of $35 to $95 per month, and then an additional $95 to $135 per year. The reason they charge that is because they use third-party solutions to help with PCI compliance. We have a dedicated team that helps you to become and remain compliant, as I mentioned. So at this point, you will know, after all of the things that we would go through, you would know if your business falls short in any way. And if it does, you can make the necessary changes and security improvements to your system. Once you make those changes, you can take the SAQ to confirm that you're fully compliant. So as you can see, the checklist that I showed you is basically your guide. The SAQ, once it's completed, and we will help you with that, will help you also to determine if you're compliant. If you're not, then we can talk about how to get you compliant. Now, I want to reiterate once again, find a provider that uses data tokenization to store customer-sensitive credit card information in a secure web-based portal rather than on your local servers. Now, think about it. If you're storing the data in your local servers, that instantly makes you liable. So make sure, once again, I'm going to repeat myself, find a provider that has a web-based portal. This will keep your data safe and reduce your liability in the event of a breach. Once you have updated your SAQ, you're ready to complete a formal attestation of compliance, which is an AOC. A formal document stating that your business is fully compliant with all relevant PCI standards. A qualified security assessor can then review your work and create a report to validate your own findings. So once again, the checklist continues here. Getting to the end stages is not as difficult as it seems. And remember, we have thousands of merchants in North and South America, in Europe as well, many countries. We're able to help. Nothing that you run into will be a surprise to us, believe me. So one more step here is to file the paperwork by submitting the documents to your processor. That would be us, or in case you decide to make the switch to us. You'll need to submit your SAQ, your AOC, and any other information that your evaluating organizations may request. This may include an external vulnerability scan. So there is absolutely no easier way to become PCI compliant than working with the experts at APS Payments. Our experts do this day in and day out. This is all they do. They will guide you every step of the way. That is something that you do not get from any other payment processor. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're currently processing credit card transactions and are curious and would like to know if you're compliant, we will provide you with assistance. Simply contact us and we can move forward with that. Now, I'd like to jump into, aside from the PCI compliance, what else APS offers. We offer, as I mentioned at the beginning, integration to many other third-party platforms. As you can see on the screen, Magento, WooCommerce, North 49's customer portal, BigCommerce. I mentioned only a few because there are so many out there. There's a wide variety of point of sale systems and mobile solutions, e-commerce solutions that we integrate with, not to mention the shopping carts. One thing that you want to look for in a payment processor is their, what's the word I'm looking for? Their willingness, I should say, to help with development in any third-party solution you might have. And that is something you can count on with APS. Many of the integrated solutions we offer have been brought to us by existing merchants. And once we create the integration, what we do is we basically offer it to all of our merchants at no charge. So what are some of the key features in our Sage 300 plugin? You can see some of them on the screen, and you probably noticed I had the PCI compliant tokenization and data encryption link available on the screen instantly. I want to make sure you understand it's something that will, again, bring your business down if you're at risk. And we are able to instantly help you to become compliant. Any situation that may have come up prior to meeting APS, we can definitely help you to overcome it. The level 3 rates, as I mentioned, this is for US-based companies, but it's important to mention because the savings is critical also. I always notice that when we analyze a merchant statement, we're able to save an average of $2,000 per month to over $30,000 a month, and that was the record breaker. We also offer in the US ACH payments. We're soon to be releasing that functionality as well in Canada. We have daily automation and batch reporting. We do not charge for our software, installation, implementation, training, maintenance, or support, and we do provide updates 90 days after Sage releases theirs. Now, we were talking about the level of savings that we can provide. Take a look at a brief analysis overview of an existing merchant statement. Now, the volume was about $128,000, a little over $128,000 a month. We were able to save this merchant over $1,000 a month. Now, part of it, as I mentioned in the beginning also, is helping to understand their current statement. When we evaluated this particular merchant statement, we found that they were taking a tiered structure from their processor. They were set up with tiered structure. Now, there are 3 different fee structures available. Number 1 is the flat rate, and then we have tiered pricing, and then we have Interchange Plus. And just so you understand where we're coming from, I always like to explain what the different fee structures offer you, because not all fee structures are perfect for everyone. So you are better off understanding what they can do for you and then choosing the fee structure that better fits your company. Many companies say flat rate is the perfect structure for me because it's straightforward, nothing changes, reconciliation is easy. If you are running corporate cards, I can tell you that the flat rate is the worst for you because the card brands offer programs that lower the rates when accepting corporate cards. And if you signed a flat rate contract, you're not able to take advantage of those programs. So you're missing out on the savings. The tiered structure to me is the most mind-boggling structure because you're basically saying you're going to be qualified in 3 different tier brackets. One is the non-qualified, mid-qualified, and fully qualified transaction. The setback here is the processor decides which of the buckets your transactions will fall under. When I ask merchants who are under a tiered structure what the criteria is behind the tiered structure, they never understand it. So what I find is that the majority of the transactions are non-qualified, and that equals higher rates. So think about it. If you're currently on a tiered structure, it really makes sense to reevaluate. The last is Interchange Plus. Interchange Plus offers to pass the hard costs from the card brand directly to you, the merchant. And then you can negotiate a transaction fee with your merchant provider. So it makes it much more transparent. What APS does is, in addition to giving you the best rate, because we do guarantee to beat or match anybody, we teach you how to confirm that you're actually getting the rate directly from Visa and MasterCard. That way, when you get your statement, you can double check and verify that we are definitely passing the hard cost from the card brand directly to you. Interchange Plus is what allows us to provide you with the highest level of savings. And as you can see in this particular example, they were able to save close to $17,000 a year. And they didn't know that they could do this. So level 3 processing, I did want to just go into detail a little bit more for those of you that have US-based companies. Level 3 processing can save you up to 43% in your current processing. And it's available with Interchange Plus. Visa and MasterCard do require several data fields to be submitted in order to qualify a transaction for level 3, and you can see these are the data fields on the screen. Now, APS merchants in Canada will automatically be enrolled in the level 3 processing program once it's rolled out, and we are planning to roll it out later this year. What that means to everyone is that you won't have to really do anything different, because we will handle taking the data points, delivering them on your behalf, and what you will notice is that your rate will be considerably lower. So why does it make sense to engage with APS Payments? Not only will you be able to save money, you'll save time and money by offering level 3 for B2B, and you'll also see an improved cash flow by accepting a quick form of payment and with no installation, maintenance, or setup fees. Now remember, we provide the training as many times as you need. We also, speaking of the PCI and of course the focus being PCI compliance, we mitigate risk by storing sensitive transaction data in an encrypted format. So basically, you're able to enter your credit card information into your ERP. We take that information, tokenize it, and we store it in our secured vault. The integrated payment processing also helps support efficiency, reduced AR staff time spent handling manual and double data entry. And of course, the errors will minimize because you won't need the double entry anymore. And then, of course, the seamless integration allows users to work within applications they already know. So what's better than to be able to process a credit card transaction right within your ERP? You live in it every day anyway. Wanted to just show off several of our very happy customers. Very small list. Didn't have enough room to add too many more. I hope I could see your name on here the next time I present. I also wanted to go through a quick case study with you because this is a prime example of how our development team is dedicated to making sure our merchants have the functionality they're looking for. Take a look at the challenge. The name of the company is K&K Interiors. They use the credit card terminal to manually key in all of their cards. They were processing over 250 credit card orders. Can you imagine how many errors were happening and how much time it took them to enter that many credit card transactions per day? Now, what were we able to give them? We automated the process of attempting authorization on the credit card, stored using Realizable Diamond's APS connector. So here's a case where we actually took the time to develop the integration with Realizable Diamonds and Sage Alerts and workflow. The customer absolutely needed that type of integration. They didn't want to have to re-enter in all the different areas and needed the functionality from the alerts and Realizable Diamonds APS connector. We also implemented an integrated payment processing solution with level 3 processing included. They didn't have to take any extra steps or measures. We made sure they became PCI compliant, no more risk there. They were able to save over $40,000 per year in transaction fees. We reduced processing time, we reduced admin costs, we increased customer satisfaction, and of course, we improved the cash flow. This is one of my favorite success stories because everything that we like to do, we were able to do for this customer, from custom development to eliminating the manual entry to making sure that they were PCI compliant and ultimately received the highest level of savings. So again, ladies and gentlemen, choose the right payment provider. Take a look at what you're accepting now. And if you're curious, let us know and we're able to provide you a free audit. Now you'll see on the screen how we're slightly different from other providers. Take note of the fact that other providers do not offer the payment portals. They do not offer the free software with the setup, maintenance, and support. Now I know those fees matter. Most of all, the PCI compliance assistance is available to you at no charge from us. We like to set ourselves apart. And the main way to see this, and that's why I like this slide, and I usually like to leave it up on the screen for a little bit because it is important. We, again, do not charge for installation, setup, training, maintenance, or support. Level 3 processing is available. We also offer 12-hour funding. The 12-hour funding is available when you batch out at the latest 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The funds are available in your bank account the next morning by 8 a.m. So that's 11 to 12 hours funding. We offer very transparent statements. We teach you how to understand our statements and show you where to verify that what we promised you is being delivered. The free PCI support, the 24/7 live support, and of course the integrated online portal is there. That's how we set ourselves apart. Many people would recommend us because we are integrated and they love the experience. So you can see 96% would recommend us, and we're striving for that 100%. Our seamless integration will work with multiple leading applications, and of course, we're a top 100 processor. So I'd like to just, if you, again, have been multitasking, stop for just a second. This is very important. Take the challenge. Allow us to provide you with this free audit. No strings attached, I promise. If we're not able to beat or match any competitor's rate, we will pay you $500. And that's simply for allowing us to show you whether or not you can obtain a savings. If you're interested, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to provide you with the audit. Get in touch with us, ladies and gentlemen. Devin's information is on the screen. Please make sure to reach out. Let us know if you would like a free audit. If you would like additional assistance regarding PCI compliance, we do have white papers available that I'm happy to share with you. And as always, thank you very much for your attention, for allowing us to present today. I hope the information has been helpful.
So I do have a few questions that have come through. If anyone else has questions, you can type them in the chat box to the right. So the first one is, how much is the APS solution?
That's a great question. The software itself is absolutely free. It's basically a DLL. Takes about 10 minutes to install. We really do not require any downtime. We also provide implementation and training, maintenance at no charge. Typically, when there's an update from Sage, we also help to install the update. If there's any setup that's required, we provide it at no charge.
The next question I have is, what is the subscription model?
There's really no subscription required. Once we install, the software will reside on your Sage server. We offer the gateway, which is our secured gateway, which means that once you enter the card information, it is tokenized and stored in our gateway. But there are really no subscriptions involved.
And the last question I have is, how long is a typical implementation?
That is a great question. So once you fill out an application, it usually takes 3 to 5 business days for our underwriters to approve. The minute we receive the approval, it goes to our project management team. Our project management team is very diligent about understanding your workflow process. So what they do is they go through a mini process review of your existing credit card processing procedure. They will try to mimic it onto our system. Install a test system, of course, And when you're happy with the way that that test system is running, we will provide you with assistance in closing your current credit card processor's portal or terminal, etc. We will also provide you with a sample letter to terminate the relationship. And that usually takes, so from start to finish, usually takes 10 business days.
Okay, that seems to be all the questions that I have that have come through. So at this moment, I'd just like to thank you for presenting today, as well as everyone in the audience for taking the time out of their busy days.
Thank you again to the BAASS group, and I look forward to the next time. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your afternoon.